So nice to see you. Welcome. I know some of you. If I don't know you, my name is Dion. I'm the founder and CEO of CLIMB by Talent Plus. It's a leadership program that we've been partnering with SMU Academy. So today's webinar is actually a partnership with SMU Academy. I wanted to introduce the Deputy Director, Carrie Chen. Carrie, would you say hi to everybody?
Hi. My name is Kerry. I'm actually the Deputy Director for Business Development over the SMU Academy. So Dion is from Talent Plus, which is our training partner for the Recharge series or the CLIMB program, as we call it. So happy to have you guys involved because I've been involved in many training programs with various SMEs at various stages of their life cycle. And I'm very happy to have Dion organize this as a talk with Huilin from Q Industries, the CEO of Q Industries, and I'm sure it'll be a good platform for various exchanges, and we will be very happy to continue this collaboration and have you guys involved on a more regular basis. So once again, welcome and thank you for joining us during your lunchtime. Back to you, Dion. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Carrie. So Carrie and I have been working together for the last 3 years, and we have helped so many small, medium enterprise businesses, business leaders, SME owners. And, recently we catch up and then we say, hey, how about we do a session together to be able to tell the story, celebrate some of our leaders. I think, we're all still in the pandemic area. We can all use more celebration. We can all use more hope and encouragement. So this is a platform where we can share stories and you guys can ask questions. I'm sure all of you are quite familiar with the Zoom function. So I would ask if you could mute yourself when we're speaking or having a conversation. But you can use the chat function to post a question, or you can raise your hand, or anytime to give us a reaction. We always welcome that, and then we will just enjoy, and then I will leave some time at the end for questions from you, and maybe Huilin can answer some. But I wanted to introduce my guest of honor today, Huilin Quek. Huilin is here. Huilin is the CEO of Q Industries, and been wanting to do this interview, actually this conversation, for a very long time. I know Huilin, I think 2014, maybe 15, I remember seeing her the first time in our office. She came in and she was learning about herself, and over the years we stayed in touch, and she's been through all of our modules, the CLIMB program, and I've always been very impressed by her leadership journey. I mean, it's not easy to take over a family business, and she has always been someone that I feel admire, and I strongly feel that we should hear her story in celebration of International Women's Day. And she's our first guest. So I'm really honored and excited to have her on the webinar today. So Huilin, you want to come forward and just say hello?
Hi, thanks, Dion. Wow, that's a wonderful introduction, and it's wonderful to hear that. Thank you so much. Yeah, so hi, everybody. Thank you for taking the time. I had no idea I was the first one, actually, so that's a bit of I don't know if that's good pressure or not, because there is no benchmark at this point in time. So yeah, thank you for everyone for making the time in the middle of your day to come and listen to Dion and myself.
Yeah, no pressure. And all of you, there's no judgment, no expectation. You can come forward anytime to ask a question. So this is a format that it's more casual and for conversation. So Q Industry. Your parents founded the business 34 years ago, Huilin, right? It's a family business, and from a very humble beginning, really focusing on the Singapore market, maybe primarily just products, and now growing to become a pace setter in the integration of hospitality solutions. Now you have clients extensively globally, including in India, Africa, Middle East, offices in Singapore, Malaysia, and also So we really wanted to hear the story. How did you all, the family, grew the business from probably employee number 1 and 2, which is Tony and Jacqueline, to now 84 employees worldwide? And what was it like growing up in the business, Huilin?
Well, actually, the business was started actually just with my mom and her sister, her young sister. Actually, it was just 2 of them in the office. My father was working in a very large American corporate company, so he had his corporate experience, and he carried on with that until about 2002. Then he joined the family business. So really, essentially, the Q Industries was built off the back of 2 very strong, wonderful women. And it became what it is today because of the amount of determination and grit and skills basically that these 2 women had. So growing up in the family business, I always like to joke that I have 3 siblings. I have my brother Kwani, I've got Kwanzan, and Kwanzan is 34, same age as Q Industries is, and so Q Industries really is like a child to my parents, especially to my mom. So for us, as long as I could remember, I remember going with her to the office on a Saturday when she would take me in to spend the time with her while she continued to work. And it was always, even at the dinner table and all of that, I always heard about the business, and it was always part of our lives, really. So Q Industries has always existed for me, and it's for as long as I can remember, really. Yeah.
And has the idea of working for the family been instilled at a young age? Did you always know, or did they bring business home? What was it like? You said you went with them to the office, but do they bring business home, and you also see your customer? What was that like?
I think with a family business, especially with someone like my mom that's super passionate about what she does, it always comes home. And I think with those of you who have the opportunity to be working in a family business right now as well, will know that that's the difficult part, is that business will always come home with you, right? Because it's a big part of your life, including for myself as well, because Q Industries is a massive part of my life right now. So for my mother and my father, they were very proud of us as a family as well. So, we met a lot of the clients, we met a lot of our vendors, our suppliers. I remember my parents would frequently invite them over for dinners, and they would introduce the kids to them. I know that there's still, the relationships that have been built over these meals are actually quite wonderful, because even today, I've been in the business for now upcoming 16 years, and there's still industry greats who have met my mother or met me when I was 10 or 12 years old, and they still remember me being a little girl. So it's very personal in that way, because my parents always really believe in building relationships and going beyond what they can do for you in a business. And I think that was really what was really instilled for us. Like I said, it's wonderful. I can go to so many different countries and have people remember me at a dinner table, remember my mother, remember my father. So it's quite incredible. And it's really, really part of us. You can ask my 2 brothers as well. I'm sure that they would agree and remember that as these dinners quite fondly.
Mm-hmm. And what was mom like? What was dad like? I'm gonna mute Tony. He cannot speak.
Yeah, just in case. Just to let everyone know, my brother. I think my brothers are both on, and so is my father. So I'm going to be as candid as possible. And yeah, I think mute both of them might be a good idea. What was mom like? My mother basically ran her business the way that she ran the company, ran the family as well. My mother and my father are 2 very polar opposites in terms of personality and what they do and how they are, and including skill sets as well. So it's and how they manage the family is really how the business is run today. There's some of my colleagues have joined in, and 1 or 2 of them have worked with them for a long time, and I can truly say that how my mother is in the business is really how she is with us as well at home. So that's why going to the business was I guess there's a good and bad of it, because they wear their, everything's worn on their sleeve, right? And how they are at home and how they are in the business really is the same. And that's basically my experience growing up with them.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you resisted to go into the business when you were young. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, like any like any teenager, you don't want to do what your parents tell you should be doing. So everyone, I'm sure, will go through that little rebellious stage, and you're looking to find yourself and basically to discover who you are. I actually wanted to be a theater major, so I wanted to go into theater. I went ahead and got myself enrolled in a university in the UK to major in theater studies. Being in a family business was definitely not something that was on my mind. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. I know my father did a lot of tried very hard to talk me into considering the family business. My mother, she just left it to me and said that, look, it's your life, you decide what you want. But I don't think they were too keen when I actually decided to be an actress. So I think that worried them for a little. That worried them that was the path that I was going to go on into. But that changed really quite last minute, actually. So what changed for me was in the 7 months between finishing up junior college and waiting for entry into university, I went and got a job at Starbucks quite by chance. And that 7 months or the time that I had working in the hospitality industry at that level was just unbelievable. I had it just opened my eyes to so many different things, and there were so many aspects about the hospitality side that I really enjoyed. And then, through the conversations with my parents, my father especially, he said, look, if you're thinking about theater, the hospitality industry really isn't that much different. It's about connecting with your audience. It's about setting the stage, because that's what we are here for, right? We're here to give people a unique experience and give them stuff that they can't really get at home, right? So that's why you go out to a restaurant to eat. That's why you check into a hotel for vacation and all of that. So that was very important for me, was when I realized that being a barista at Starbucks, that, hey, you know what? I think this industry is for me. And so I gave hospitality a chance. In fact, I enrolled for my hospitality school at AccorHotels de Lausanne quite late. In fact, the entire interview committee had flown out of Hong Kong already, and I was actually one of the last admissions. And they made the exception to take me in, even though I had passed all the admission dates. So I've been that was lucky as well that they would take me in. And so that was really, yeah, it wasn't planned. And sometimes, when it isn't planned, sometimes the best things can come out of it. And I think it was so perfect that it happened the way that it did.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting hearing your struggle as a teenager resisting, joining the family business, but then, you see hospitality industry is like, being very relationship, and thinking back, how you growing up as a little girl, seeing your parents, how they treat their customers. Their business is all about relationship building. Did you see the parallel? I don't know, subconsciously, maybe that has really been instilled in you at a very early age. Do you see that?
I think definitely, because my parents, for them, values are their value system is very strong, and relationship is one of them. And I think when they looked at the business and about wanting me to get into the business, I think it was more about the relationship that it could build with me as well, and the relationship that I would build with the company. And because we've been so personal with our clients and with our vendors and our suppliers, it definitely was instilled at a very young age. I mean, even our Malaysian partner was originally a client first, and then the relationship was built, and he left hotels and decided to be our partner in Malaysia, and still today this relationship is extremely strong. Even with Chef Christoph, right? He started off as a client with Few Industries, and that was in 1999, I think 98, and today he's still such an important person in my family's life and in my life, particularly for Q Industries. So I think the relationship is really the pivotal point for us, and it's the shared value system that we have that about building relationships has really transcended, and it's really very strong for us today, including my brother and myself.
So you mentioned 16 years now, you're in the industry. So I want you to think back in your early day, and you know, I've seen you in your early days. You know, there were a lot of struggles. You know, can you describe? You know, and your mom. You talked about your mom being such a powerful figure, and she was the brand. You know, she was the brand. Perhaps still is. And what were your early struggles when you first joined the business?
Wow. Okay. One of my key struggles, actually a lot of it had to do with myself personally. Like you said, my mom is such a formidable person, and in the industry, she's you know, everyone knows who she is. And she really is the face of Q Industries. So when I joined it, I was so determined to be different. I was so determined to not be in her shadow. And I think that was one of my struggles, and to try and disassociate myself from her, which now looking back at it was really unnecessary. I think that was more of my own self-doubt, of my own ability and capability as well. And it's still, you know, when Dion, when you and I have conversations, that still is it's something that I struggle with all the time, is self-doubt. Am I doing the right thing? Is what could I have done it better? Or, you know, sometimes when I do something, I always think, well, my parents, because they're my parents, you know, they're saying I did a good job, but I don't really know, because maybe if I was someone else, they wouldn't have said that. So there's a lot of things that goes through my head about, did I do it well? Should I have done it better? And are they saying it because I'm the boss's daughter, or are they agreeing with me because, you know, of who I am in the family business, right? So that was primarily the struggle that I had, and I tend to be extremely hard on myself, even though I do have. If I do achieve a success, it's not for me. It's not about celebrating that success, but dissecting it to make sure that and understanding, could I have done it better? Did I do it right? You know, so all this goes through my head, and even till today, it's still, I still think of it that way. And I know I always look at my mother and go, what can I do? You know, she's done so much for the business, and now what can I do to take it to the next level, right? And do right by her and what she's built Q Industries for. So that is really was the original struggle that I had. And like I said, it's still stuff that I have to deal with today.
No, thank you for sharing. And how did you overcome it? And you know, it's been 16 years, and we always talk about this is a journey. So what are some of the things that, you know, that helps you in this journey? And then definitely we're going to touch on, you know, mentorship, but what are some of the things that you did early on?
I think in relation to specifically the self-doubt about whether I'm capable enough or whether I did a good job, I think looking outwards beyond my parents' role in the business and talking to people outside of the industry outside of the business does help a lot. And I think I have to say this, not as Talent Plus, but I think one of the biggest what helped me the most was doing the executive Talent Plus interview, which Chef Christophe, of course, introduced us to. And that really did help, because when I finished with that interview and we had the debrief with Talent Plus, and we talked about where my talents were, where my strengths were, where I scored more or less along the which percentile with people of my peer and in a similar position. That actually really helped a lot, because when I looked at it, and I mean, you see your talents listed on a piece of paper, right? It's incredible, because I look at it, really, I did not know that was my talent. I did not know that was what I was going to, what I am actually good at. And because it's on a piece of paper, and you have someone neutral and in the industry tell you that you're actually good at this certain skill set, that's wonderful. I mean, it helped me a lot, because it kind of cleared some of the doubt, and it also helped me understand myself as a person, and and how I relate to the business and what I can do to maximize my talent in order to get to where we want to go. This is actually right in front of me. I'm sure you remember this, the talent card.
Yeah.
So that actually, I put it in front of me because every time I have a doubt or I'm not sure, I look at it, and it helps me move forward and have the courage and the confidence that I'm doing the right thing. So that's really what has done. And the other part, which you mentioned as well, would be mentorship, looking outside of the family, because like I said, at the end of the day, my parents are first and foremost, will always be my parents. And they will always look at me, not as someone that's working in the company, but their daughter, right? And those of you who are parents will probably know how that feels. So it did help to have an external party come in and be very, to be neutral about it, to have a third party's point of view, and to basically hold a mirror up to myself, that to me, and tell me whether or not I was doing the right thing or whether I'm doing something well. So that really does help to have that voice.
Now you know more about yourself. Are you more like your mom or more like your dad?
I like to think I'm a bit of both. They're both extremely wonderful people with like I said, they're very diverse. They're polar opposites to each other. So their strengths are very unique to them. I would like to, I think maybe you have to ask people who work with me. I think I'm a little bit more like my mother in terms when it comes to the business. But I'm a lot more like my father when we talk about being social and building that relationship and going beyond just business transactions. I think I'm a bit of both. I like to think I've got the two good sides of them.
Good. Now let's talk about mentorship. I know this is a big part of your leadership growth journey. You know, you mentioned a few times, and in the article that's been written about you also, you know, having a mentor is important in your life. And so how did you, I mean, if someone here that, you know, say, how do I select a mentor? Is that a mentor? I know Christoph is your mentor. He's also the co-founder of CLIMB. He's our partner. How do you, is it someone found you, the mentor, or how did that happen?
It actually was my father, and I would have to give him definitely have to give him credit for that. That he was able to see how I was struggling, and it was actually very admirable that he looked at my mother and at himself and knew that he wasn't going to be able, that they weren't going to be able to give me what I needed to go to the next level in terms of my career and my development as a leader. So they looked at it, and he approached Christoph, and it's just the right time, right place, and everything just fell in, right? So, I mean, if those of you don't know, actually, Chef Christoph was my first real boss at the age of 19. I was an intern at the Ritz-Carlton, and he was the executive chef there. So I had known him in a professional capacity at the age of 19. And then in about 2013, 2015, as long as it came full circle, he's also seen me grow. And he's actually probably, I should actually credit him after when I was when I was going to graduate Lausanne. I was also still thinking, should I go to the family business? It was not something that I had completely been sold on yet. And actually, one of the conversations I had with him, he was the reason why I decided to give the family business a chance instead of going out to work immediately, because he basically confronted the reality and told me, not everybody will be, you are very lucky to have the opportunity given to you, because not very few people will have this. And you have an amazing company built by an amazing woman, and this is now in front of you. You need to step up and take it. And that was because of him. So that was in the beginning of my career. And then about in 2014, where I went through a very difficult time personally in the business, he came back in again, and my father spoke to him, and they came to agreement that Christoph will come in as my coach and mentor and really take myself and the company to the next level. So that's yeah. That's how it happened.
Yeah, describe your relationship with your mentor. How was it like? How did he help you?
It wasn't easy. It, there were certain days that I really, oh, I'm sorry, chef, but I hated it. I hated him sometimes, because he was really pushing me. He made me, like, confronting reality. Like, he made me see things that I would not want to see. And he pushed me beyond what I thought I would be capable of. I really spent a lot of the relationship outside of my comfort zone. I think what helped a lot was the fact that there's a lot of trust in him. There's a lot of trust from my family in him as well. And the relationship that we have built. And like I said, this relationship started when I was 19 with him. This relationship started with my family when he was working with my mom in 98, I think thereabouts. So it hasn't been easy. And I remember talking to somebody one day, and I was just said, he was asking me just in passing, saying, so how's it going with your journey with your coach and mentor? And I was just, oh gosh, some days I just hate him. And then this guy turned around to me and said, you know what? If you didn't, he's not doing his job, because you really need to be pushed, and you need you really need to be able to, you need someone to have the fortitude to want to keep pushing you along. And certain days he pushes me forward, and certain days he pulls me forward, right? So I think that's what you really need in a mentor. And we've been very fortunate to have someone like him to support my family and to support the business as well.
That's his love language, pushing people. He
Yes.
doesn't push you, that's how he shows his care. Right, Christoph?
Tough love.
Well, I think it's important sometimes to help people to go out of their comfort zone and to unleash their full power. And just from my side as a mentor and a coach to Huilin, I mean, it has been an amazing journey. And when I look back what the both of us have done together, our relationship has never been as great and as amazing. We can now just look at each other. We don't even have to talk sometimes. And we are so aligned every day. I mean, we spend the whole morning together just rushing into this webinar, trying to stretch business left, right, and center. And it's a great feeling when you see mentees reacting to the coaching. And that is a great feeling. And only focusing on the talent and walking around all the blind spots, not trying to tackle them because they are blind, so it's not there.
Thank you for coming forward, Christoph. So it was an amazing journey, and I think you mentioned, Huilin, also the shared values. Your family business has a very strong values. The shared value and trust. Those are also the ingredient that lead to a successful mentorship relationship, right?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, I think that's why I said we mentioned it was the relationship and the trust that we built, the trust that my parents have in Chef, right? Because as like I said, as parents, when I'm struggling, it must be, I'm not a parent, and I mean, Dion, you are, so to see your child struggle and to hit an emotional low or especially when it's in relation to the business that they put me into the business. This was what they had mapped out for me. And then when I was struggling and feeling absolutely at my lowest point, it's hard for parents to see that. It's very difficult. And for them to extricate themselves and step back and say, look, we can't do any more for her. Someone else needs to step up and take this journey along with her. So I think that's, I actually, honestly, I've never really spoken to my parents about this, but I really wonder what that felt like for them to come to this conclusion, right? And to make the decision that they did. Yeah.
Ask them at the end.
You can ask me. My father's online.
Ask them at the end. And I wanted to talk a little bit about this low moment. We previously had a conversation. I asked, tell us a little bit about your pivotal point running the business, and you wanted to actually speak about some of these time that's actually is harder time for you. Can you explain that?
Yeah, when I like to look back at you know, I like to look back at what I've been doing. Normally that happens on my birthday, where I always look back at my year and see what defines me as a person, what was an important point. And a lot of, when I talk to a lot of people, they like to define, or they like to talk about success, you know, being a pivotal point for them. On the other side, for me, I like to think at where my lowest point was probably my pivotal point. Who I am today and where I am in the business and what I've become was because I hit rock bottom, like in a personal sense, like you know, we had some issues with the business. There was what I did for myself, a failure, and it really got to the point whereby I was done. I was just saying, no, this is it. Kwani is online. He was my brother, and he was, before he joined the business, he was very close to me, listening to what was going through and what was happening with me. And emotionally, I was spent. I couldn't pick myself up anymore. It was tough. Because, you know, there were certain relationships in business that I had built that unfortunately fell apart, and you know, they turned out not to be who I expected, and I felt really completely alone, right? And this is ironically, despite my parents being in the business with me, I've never felt so alone, and so you know, it's so hard to say. It took me a while to get out of it, and really, honestly, Christoph's credited with really pulling me out of that, because I just hit a downward spiral, and it was either going to break me, or you know, get me to the next point. So I refuse to let that failure define me. But there's a lot from that I learned, and that I think gave me the push to move forward. And once I picked myself up, I never looked back, right? So I know that I never want to get to that point ever again. And I also know what it takes to get myself out of it, and what not to do, so that I will never get back into that point again. So I catch these things a lot earlier on now. If I see myself heading that direction, I put a stop to it, because now I'm a lot more conscious of who I am as a person and how I react. And I allow that to happen, and then I get myself out of it. Because you have to feel like, you know, when you're sad, there's no such thing as every day you go to work chirpy and, you know, sunshine and rainbows, right? That doesn't happen. But you do need to embrace the fact that things don't go well at times, you know, recognize it, feel what you need to feel, and then move on. And I think my lowest point taught me that, of what I needed to do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take for you to get out of the situation? And was it still?
Yeah, it took me a long time. I think it happened sometime in 2014. It happened over a span of about a year and a half, 2 years. So it really became very entrenched. My struggle was that, you know, I kept loading the baggage on. You know, I kept hanging on to these negative emotions, because it started to define who I was, and I started, I won't say enjoy being in the misery, but that's what I related to. And it took a long time and a lot of hard work with the people around me actually to pull me out of it. And even up to recently, maybe a year ago, maybe sometimes I do have moments where, you know, I sometimes go back into that dark place. So it's a lot of consciousness, and it's a lot of confronting reality, and being aware. I think the consciousness really does help, and having the support network around you to basically help you through it. I think what I learned is that I don't have to take on everything on my own. I don't have to keep feeling the way that I do. There are people around me that do care enough that they want to be by my side fighting the battle. So this was very important for me. Like I said, it's still a constant struggle. I'm definitely getting a lot better at it, and once you're on that journey, it becomes a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah. And we have to comment, you that you have the courage to say that it's still a constant struggle. So it's not like, hey, it's going to be rosy every day. Now, your mom, obviously, and I think sometimes people don't give enough credit for a second generation of SME owners. You almost have to reinvent the business. So you are also an entrepreneur. So is entrepreneur born or trained?
Oh, wow. I think it's a bit of both. You need to have the right talent and skill set so that you're naturally inclined to for example, risk taking, naturally inclined to look at things strategically, looking beyond the today into the next 3, 5, 10 years from now. You also need to have the talent to be, one of the talents which responds to negativity, right? Because if you're in this position, in the leadership position, and also trying to navigate the business world, lead your team and continue to drive the business forward, you need to be able to have the grit and determination. So basically you need to get up every morning, no matter how bad the day was before, you need to get up and you need to continue to drive and lead your team, because that's the most important thing. You're in the business to keep it growing and to support the people that work with you, who put their trust and faith in you as a leader to want to be part of the journey with you. So I think that talent is very, I think talent is important, but at the same time, if you're born with that talent, but you don't practice and you don't hone in on it and you don't get better at who you are as an individual, then you end up failing as well. I mean, I always like to think of it like being an athlete, right? You can be born with the physical physique to be really good at a certain sport, but if you don't get up every morning to train, if you don't watch your diet, if you don't have that discipline, you would just be someone with talent but no future, right? There's no result. So I think it really is a bit of both, and it's constantly having that discipline to keep getting better and looking at your own talent and making sure that you maximize that talent, and knowing how to do that as well.
Mm-hmm. And you always, thank you for the thumbs up. So you always mention about this quote from your mom, the 30%. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Sorry, the quote from my mom. The
30%, how you look at.
Oh, yeah. So my mom believes that 33.3% is what you're born with. It's basically the what is in your DNA, who you are as a person, their skill set. So basically talent. The other 33% is the environment, basically what you're born into. So I was born into a family business, basically, right? And then the other balance 33% is what you do with it. And if all three aren't aligned, then it will be a constant struggle. So I've been very, very fortunate that I have a certain skill set, I guess, that fits what we want to do with Q industry. And I've been very, very fortunate to have the environment around me, like with my parents, my brothers, being very supportive, and of course Q industries that exists for me to go into to begin with, and for what I do for myself, basically. So this is where I don't think sometimes we give enough credit to our own selves with what we do. And so that's basically her 33 rule. Is that 1/3 of it really is up to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Now, part of this webinar is the month of March, and March is the month that we celebrate International Women's Day. And this is a platform that we really want to bring awareness of women achievement, their, equality and inclusiveness in the workplace. Now, what is the one thing you want to share with women leader or business owners? What are some of the challenges they continue to face, or any advice that you wanted to share on this platform?
I think that if I can say one thing about my experience being a woman in this in an industry that's really primarily male dominated, and also being in the leadership position right now with Q Industries, is my advice would be, it's okay not to fit the box. I get told that, oh, you're different, you're complex, you're complicated. This is it's okay. It's okay for you not to fit into that box that that society or that your family or people around you have that think should be what you are in. You know, I face on a personal level, you know, Q Industries means a lot to me, and it's first and foremost in my life, and it's not about finding a life partner, it's not about having children. So for a woman, you have to confront that, because there is a different amount of pressure on what people or what society expects of you. And for me to break out of that box was not necessarily easy, because for some reason, you know, they think that you're not complete, or you're not doing, you know, your part, or you know, if you don't have a family, and if you don't have children and all of that. And it took me a while to reconcile the facts. You know, I know I'm doing it right, and I know I'm doing it right by me. Right. So, and I may not be the box that you think I fit into, but that's okay. So be okay with the fact that you're different. Be okay with the fact that you may not necessarily be what people expect you to be. And only then you'll be able to achieve what you want to achieve. That's what I think. Yeah.
No, thank you for sharing. And it's such an amazing journey when you talked about early on, you're being self-doubt, you're not sure who you are, can you live up to the expectation, to now really embracing, this journey and not wanting to fit into the box, and the expectation. So, you have done a lot of work yourself, looking inward and thinking about how to tackle the outwards. Now, Huilin, what do you think your parents are most proud of?
Oh, okay. I mean, I think from my point of view, maybe they may agree or disagree. I think they're proud of. I think they're proud of the fact that I don't give up, and that no matter how bad things get, or that I continue to pick myself up, and that every day is a new day for me, and that I will continue to keep driving it no matter how bad it gets, or how hard it does get. I think they're proud that I've stuck it out, and that I've continued to drive it and keep going forward. I like to think that's what they are proud of. I mean, they're in the room, so maybe I'm not sure if that's the truth, but that's what I think it is. Yeah.
And interesting, you go back to the quality of being an entrepreneur. You talk about grit, right? And you're talking about, I know that this is one of your talents. And you talk about how to apply, if you have the talent, if you don't do anything about it, then, it doesn't go anywhere. But you did, this is who you are, but then, you never give up, even in your low point that, you talked about. So now, we have about 15 minutes left. Any of you if you have questions, you can post it on chat, and we can also ask Huilin what's on your mind, and we'll see how we bring on maybe Tony later to answer some of these questions. So last, maybe two questions or one question. What do you want your legacy to be like, Huilin? What do you want to remember?
My legacy is Q Industries. That is my legacy, because it's now the way when I said that Q Industries is the fourth child of my parents. Q Industries is my baby, and my legacy would be to take what my mom has done for the industry, what she's built, and take it really to the next level. And in terms of the next level, I mean, no longer being just a trading company, but building the brand identity of the company. Building it beyond Mrs. Quek as a founder, beyond me as an individual, and really future-proofing the business. I mean, for what we have done in the last 4 years is we have built such a phenomenal identity for the company, built our own product brand, going now into the digitalization of the industry. I mean, you mentioned in the beginning being a pace setter, and this is really what we are looking at. It's what got us to where we are today. What my mom has done has been phenomenal, but now taking it to the next step, that would be, in my opinion, my personal legacy, and the legacy that I would like to leave for Q Industries. It needs to transcend me. That's what the company needs to do, and that would be what I'll be, what I'm working towards and driving forward. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And your mom did make a comment here on the chat. She said that you are absolutely right. Your dad and I are very proud that you are very resilient. So they have spoken. So we'll come back to that on the other question. But I saw a hand raised by Ganesh. Hi, Ganesh.
How you doing?
How are you?
Sorry, I was a little late.
No worries, no worries. Good to see you. What's the question? Any question for Huilin?
Huilin, you brought up a great point on, not fitting into the box. My question is, was that always the case through your career journey as well, or did you have to? You're at a position today to say that, you know what, I don't want to fit in the box. You can afford to do that, but there are so many people who might be pretty junior or still starting off their careers, and they might not have the opportunity to push back to the concept of saying, I don't want to fit in the box. What was I want to know, is that something that you experienced as well, that maybe during your early years you said, you know what, I'll fit in the box because maybe I need to, but my goal is to not fit in the box. I don't know if that makes sense, but would you want to talk about that a little bit and share that too?
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I think I did everything right as a daughter with my parents. I went to this, went to the schools that they wanted me to go to. Did I guess studies and all that. So the good child, I think I like to think I was. I am the eldest, so I think everything new for them would probably be something they would think would be rebellious. I think where everyone misunderstands or thinks that in order for them to make an impact or to be different, they need to do something really big, but they don't. You just it's the little things that you do that contributes. Because if you look at it and says, okay, I don't want to fit into the box. I want to break out of it. I want to be completely different. Everyone's sitting and you don't wait for that pivotal moment to happen. It doesn't. You have to take a small step each time. And it doesn't have to be significant in the eyes of others. It has to be significant in your eyes.
Right.
And for me, pushing the boundaries a little bit and a little bit and a little bit helped me to get out of that box. So my advice would be, do it for yourself and don't wait for that big aha moment. Because it will never come. Right. It won't come. You're lucky if it does, but it's the little things that you do each step forward that keeps you going. So yeah, but of course there's certain times where like we are in society, right? There's certain rules and regulations and things that we have to do. So that box still exists, right? You just have to be different within the confines of what is socially acceptable to a certain extent. I broke it by saying that marriage is not something that I want. I broke it by saying that children is not something that I want. So it might be harder for my parents to accept, I guess, but I pushed that boundary. And it's what I did for myself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the question. Thank you.
Thanks, Ganesh, for the question. Also, we have some questions here. Christine, you want to come forward? I see your question on the chat.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dio, for the invite and a meeting with Huilin, and thank you for your wonderful story sharing, which is very impressive and admirable. And I have a question for you because I'm going to group coaching 30 women and who are second generation. And they are faced with different challenges and will be going to take over the business in the future and from their parents, and they are really willing to learn from others. So if you have any advice, I really love to share with them, and as a takeaway also from today's session, and they'll be lovely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Wow,
next Monday. Yeah, on next Monday. Thank you.
Wow, firstly, it's very admirable. Wow, that's an amazing thing that you're doing. And I think what my advice would be, it's okay to ask for help. And I think women, when we talk about the strong woman and the strength of women and all that, yeah, we are phenomenal in that way that we do have that strength. and that we have that resilience, right? Because I think that's sometimes how we are built, or what we're expected to have. It's okay to ask for help, because we forget that we need it. So when I talked about my lowest point, was because I thought that I could do it on my own, and I expected myself to do it on my own. And when the reality was confronted that I couldn't, that was when I had to ask for help. And I think women should, I think if you want to give any advice, is always try, if you don't think that you can do it on your own, it's okay, ask for help, always look outward. So now I constantly am on the lookout for people around me that I can learn from, that I know that if I need help, they will be the right person for me to approach. I'm okay, you know, admitting, like I said, I was very candid during this conversation about my low points and my self-doubt and all of that. It's okay to share that, because I think if you acknowledge that, then you know what to do. But if we continue to build this wall around us about the idea of how strong women should be, they don't ask for help and all of that, then it makes things very, very, you know, this journey will be very painful. Yeah, so that will be my advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For
Pleasure.
sure, I will take your advice and share with them and with this woman in China. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Christine, also, our session is recorded, so if you want to play part of it, you can always get a link from us, and then you can share that with your community as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, that will be very helpful.
Yeah, I also have a question. Thanks, Christine. I have a question from Sharon. Sharon, I read it here. She's waving. She said she deeply resonates with what you've gone through about defining who you are and believing what you can do. Can you share more on what was the moment you decided to stop self-doubt, as that how you can be stronger to move on?
I don't think it was one particular moment. I think it was a lot along the way. My family helped a lot. My brother in particular, before, when I was going through a really tough time, he was my emotional support. And then having Christoph be there for me. And he spent a lot of time, and I know it wasn't easy for him, because I can be a very difficult person and very stubborn. So he really worked very hard in pulling me out of it. So think of it like a hole, right? Someone's pulling you out, and then you have to kind of push yourself out at the same time. So there wasn't really that one moment that it, like I said, you know, people expect this thing to just happen like that. It doesn't. It's a lot of very, very small, deliberate things that you have to do to get there. And it's still a continual journey, and you will never stop this journey. And you will never get to a point whereby, you know, this is it, right? Actually, I'm kind of glad that there will never be this is it, because then what's there to really continue living for, and what's there really to continue moving forward? You know, that you need to look forward to stuff and continue improving. So I don't know if that really responds to the question. But yeah, for me, there was not that one defining moment, not really.
Sharon, does it help?
Yeah, thank you for that. Or maybe when you mentioned that it's actually a continuous progress about stop self-doubting, but then you may get back a little, you know, about how you can push yourself forward. Maybe is there a best advice that you get from Christoph or maybe your parents about, you know, how you can handle that or facing that self-doubting to stop putting you back to that very low moment?
Christoph has got something. Yeah, okay, go ahead, Steph.
Yeah, I think, Sharon, what is very important in this journey, and for everyone, is sometimes we are very hard on ourselves. Expectations are very high. And these are the ones we have to step back on it and say, you know what? Every small achievement will contribute to the purpose. I think the purpose has to be vision-driven, and the actions you put behind it have to be sizable and chewable. You know, if you want to build a cathedral and you haven't even any masonry skill, I say forget about it. Don't be silly, you know. Start by small steps, things you can undertake and you can achieve, and you feel comfortable and you feel proud about it. And then you move on to the next, and you move on to the next. You see, it's like an Olympic champion. It takes decades to become an Olympic champion, and you train every day. There is no rest day. So you have to be very gentle about this journey and be very thankful. And sometimes just to this, say, great job, because nobody else will do it. I hope that helps.
Good, thank you. Great question.
Thanks, Chef.
Yeah, thank you, Christoph. Anyone else? We have 2 minutes left before 1 o'clock. Anyone else would like to ask a question? You can unmute and come forward.
Huilin, this is Steve Wang.
Hi, Steve.
Such a privilege to always work with you. So my question is and as a organization, we get asked this a lot, particularly in the Women as Leaders Month, in terms of this equity issue that is still there. And as a female leader of an organization, and we would always say this, in terms of knowledge is universal, so therefore it's equal. And therefore leadership and talent is also equal. As a female leader, how do you promote that as you now have a bigger platform? And as you say, in terms of your agenda and your forward-looking and aggressive and progressive mannerism, there's the future's the sky's the limit. I'm sure you would be great at doing that. How do you think much of that can be promoted?
I think, well, I've been very, very fortunate to live in a country and to be born into a family whereby I personally don't feel any less of being a woman would have been I don't feel any less. I don't think there was a disadvantage at all. And I think I've been very, very fortunate with my family that it's very equal. The boys have 2 brothers and there's myself. And I've never had any less of a voice because I'm female. And I've been also very, very fortunate to have very strong women in my life. My mother, of course, is one of them, and my grandmother. She basically, I mean, we are a product of our environment, and having these role models are really important for me. And I've had someone actually asking me this question: so how do I get my daughters to be confident and to be able to handle themselves the way that you do and go out and go and achieve stuff? And this is not about what you teach your daughters, it's about what you teach your sons. So, because if you tell them that they will be treated differently and people do treat them differently, then they end up there's expectations already set for them. My parents brought up my 2 brothers very, very respectful of women, and they are wonderful, wonderful young men. And with the way that they have been brought up and the way that they treat me, and my relationship with them defines who I am as a person. And so I think it's about taking the step up and educating men. And I think that all will fall into place. So we are, like I said, I'm very, very fortunate. I've had opportunities that a lot of women won't have. And I've been in an environment that a lot of women don't have either. So I think we have a long way to go, a long, long way to go. And what I think for myself is really the relationship that you have with men in your life that would, I think, help a lot moving forward and giving women equal rights and reducing the disparity and reducing the inequality as well.
Thank you so much. That's so inspirational.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve, for the question. Good. Well, we are at 1 o'clock, everybody. Time flew by so quickly. And I want to thank you for your time, being with us today. Carrie, let's do more. I think we should do more in the future.
Certainly, yes. Good
And
chat.
thank you, Christoph and Huilin, and all of you being, so engaging, listening, and your questions. We'll let you know the next session. Thanks, Betty. Yeah, okay. Have a nice afternoon, everybody.
Thank you.